Hi again. This video is going to focus on how Heart and Soul can help teach relative major and minor key pairs. And before we do this video, I just want to make sure that you've already done the tutorial on how to play Heart and Soul, the bass line and chords. You should already know that this teaches chords 1, 4, and 5 are primary chords, the chords that are used the most in music. This leaves the A minor chord left over. You should already know how to transpose Heart and Soul. So if you can take Heart and Soul and play it in other places, like in the key of G, and you know how to add the keys that belong to the key of G or the key of F, or even the key of D, how to move Heart and Soul around the piano and can play it in all these different places, and you know your key signatures and you know which black keys belong to which keys, then we're going to be able to move to the next step of how to find relative major and minor key pairs using Heart and Soul. So first of all, we just want to talk about what is a key, and we're not talking about like a piano key, we're talking about a key signature. A key signature is a group of notes that belong together as a default pattern. So the key of D has two sharps, F sharp and C sharp. The key of F has one flat. So a key is simply notes that belong together, and they also have a key note or a key center. The note that the key is built on is the tonic, or it's the key center, and that helps define this as a key of music. But every key signature has two sides, just like in Star Wars, the Force has a light side and a dark side. Every key signature has a major key and a minor key that share the exact same default key pattern. So some words that could be used to describe major keys are bold, cheerful, bright, happy, carefree. Music that is written in major keys can sound all those different ways. This is like the Jedi side of the key signature. Minor keys can sound sad, pensive, angry, tragic, intense. This would be the Sith side of the key if we're comparing it to Star Wars. It's almost like they both share the same DNA. So if we're looking at C major and A minor, which are relative major and minors, they both have a default pattern of no sharps or flats. So what we're going to get to next is how can Heart and Soul help us figure out what the major minor pairs are for the relative major and relative minor keys. When you play Heart and Soul, chord 1 can be seen as the major key of the pair, and chord 6, even though it's chord 6 in the key of C, it is a gateway or a way of figuring out what the relative minor of C is. So the key of C, the 6th chord leads you to knowing what the relative minor is, and in this case, the relative minor of C is A minor. And you'll notice that the two chords, even the two chords share a lot in common. They share these two C and E in common. So not only do they share the same key signature, tonic chords of each one share quite a few notes together. So it's chord 6 of Heart and Soul that holds the clue. And if you can play Heart and Soul in any key, you can figure out the relative major and minor. So let's try this in the key of G. In the key of G, chord 1 is the G chord, and chord 6 is the E minor chord. Well, then that has just solved our problem. What is the relative minor in the key of G? The relative minor of G is E minor. Let's try this in the key of F. So let's play Heart and Soul in the key of F. Chord 1 is F. Chord 6 is D minor. That chord 6 helps us figure out that by ear, basically, that the relative minor of F major is D minor. So how does this help us? Well, if we know the F major scale and we know that the F major scale has a B flat in it, then if we know that the relative minor scale also should have the same key signature of 1 flat, then it helps us know what the key signature of D minor is. Let's choose a key that we haven't even done in the series yet. Let's do the key of A. If you know your A scale, 3 sharps in it. If you play chord 6 in the key of A, then it leads you to knowing that the A major key and the F sharp minor key are relatives. The A is the relative major, F sharp minor is the relative minor. So I hope this is helpful. It's basically just taking heart and soul and using the first 2 chords, chord 1 and chord 6, to help figure out by ear the relative major and relative minor relationships.